let me tell you some bad news. The Tigers are no longer in first place in the AL Central. It is the largest collapse in the history of Major League Baseball. 15 and a half games. That's how many they were up just a short couple months ago. And last night comes around and everyone, at least in my life, was like feeling okay about it. Hey, we got to go take it to Cleveland. Cleveland comes in scorching hot. They can't lose. They swept the Tigers last week. We've got Skubal on the mound. Despite the fact that the Tigers had lost 9 of their last 10 games, it was a chance to knock off the team that's coming to get you at the top of the standings and kind of put this entire narrative to bed and go into the postseason on a happy note. Well, Tarik Skubal's on the mounds, and look, I have no other way to say it besides he was awful last night. Straight up awful. The strikeouts they hit, that was our lock of the day, and he was certainly aggressive when he was throwing that fastball down the plate. But that 6th inning rolls around, and the Tigers basically invented new ways to lose. Bunt with no outs. First runner, Steven Kwan comes in, just bunts his way on. Another guy comes in to try to bunt, and Tarik Skubal attempts to throw a ball between his legs to make the out at first base. He tried to throw a ball between his legs. Is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen a pitcher attempt to do. Look, we're all fans of Tarik Skubal. We all want him to be around long term here in Detroit. He is the biggest reason they lost that game yesterday. Because not only did he attempt to throw a ball between his legs to first base and completely overthrow it to Spencer Torkelson, allowing the runners to advance, E1. Not only did he do that, then he drills David Fry in the face with a 99-mile-per-hour fastball. And it seems like Fry's going to be okay. I don't know if he's going to play again this season or in the postseason, but he seemed a little shaken up. The guy who was more shaken up was Tarik Skubal. He proceeded to throw a wild pitch, gave up another infield single, had a balk, just completely fell apart after he hit David Fry in the mouth. Completely fell apart. No former Cy Young in the history of baseball had ever balked, had an error, and a wild pitch in the same game. He did all 3 things in the 6th inning. Tarik Skubal was the biggest reason they lost that game yesterday. To say he was bad and that 6th inning was bad would be an understatement. The season got thrown out the window. And the toughest part about all of that was in the top of the 6th, the Tigers took a 2-0 lead. Thank you, Riley Green. Riley Green comes through, hits a solo shot. It's like, wow, the Tigers have this lead. Hope they don't surrender it. Just give us a few more outings from Tarik Skubal. And then that 6th inning comes around, and the Tigers just spiral out of control. They go to the top of the 7th, 3 of the ugliest at-bats you'll ever see. Thanks, Wenzel Perez, 3 pitches. Thanks, Zach McKinstry, 3 pitches, down on strikes. And just like that, you knew. I mean, we all knew right away. It was done. They weren't going to come back and win this thing, which was obviously unfortunate, but also sad. I think it made us angry. It just had me infuriated with this team because the guy that is supposed to be the superhero and put the cape on and make sure the bleeding stops is actually the reason they bled the most yesterday in Tarik Skubal. That attempt between his legs was just the start of the Tigers just unraveling there in the 6th inning. And it basically all goes back to Tarik Skubal on this one. I hate to say it. I hate to be the person that's like, blame this guy. But it like there's no one else to blame. It was his fault yesterday. And now the Tigers have lost 11 of their last 12 games. They're no longer in first place in the AL Central. And not only that, they're only 1 game up on Houston for the final wild card spot. So they have gone from hanging their first banner in 11 years to winning the division to potentially not even being in a playoff spot. They're 1 game up on Houston. They own the tiebreaker. So let's say they're 2 games up for the sake of the conversation. I have no reason to think this team's capable of winning another game. They had it yesterday. They took the lead, and they invented new ways to lose. Scott Harris going back to 2022 has been all about the strike zone. What are the Tigers going to do to get to the top? They are going to dominate the strike zone, be disciplined at the plate. Let's read a couple quotes from 2022. Quote, "We want to dominate the strike zone on both sides of the ball." Scott Harris. Let's do another one, a little longer. Quote, "I believe that the strike zone disproportionately influences just about everything you see on the baseball field. It dictates pitch counts. It dictates count leverage. It dictates length of the inning, dictates the load you're putting on your pitcher's body and how many pitches you're going to have to use throughout a series. It dictates the quality of contact that you're giving up and how much contact you're giving up, which therefore influences the quality of defense that you can build and execute behind a pitcher." It's from Scott Harris. Let's do one more quote. "We want to dominate the strike zone on both sides of the ball. Plain and simple." Yesterday, the Tigers had 19 strikeouts. 19 strikeouts with the season on the line. Riley Green said less than 3 days ago, "I don't care about the strikeouts. It's not that big of a deal." It's almost like they're laughing in our faces. It's almost like we, as fans, care about them getting to the postseason more than they do. They are not under any pressure. They have openly said that. Obviously, they want to win games and get into the postseason. I don't think that's up for debate. But there's no accountability with this team. There is no leader. There is no person calling a players-only meeting or just a meeting in general. It doesn't even have to be players-only, and saying this is unacceptable. No one is holding these guys accountable. And as much as I would love to hear a story or read a story that Riley Green called up meeting and made sure, ripped into everyone, made sure everyone understood what was going into today's game and the stakes that were on the line, I just don't see it happening. There's not a leader in the clubhouse. Maybe it's Skubal, but it's really got to be a guy that's in the lineup every single day. A person should be Riley Green, but it's just not. It's not right now. And when your best player, quote-unquote best player, is going up there and striking out over and over and over again after the president of baseball operations has been so adamant about the way we're going to win games, it's to dominate the strike zone. The Tigers are 5th right now in strikeouts across Major League Baseball. It's just such a deflating feeling. And now not only are the Tigers likely not going to hang a banner this year, if they don't figure things out and start winning games, there's a real chance they don't even make the postseason, which would in fact be the greatest collapse in the history of Major League sports. I don't think it's an understatement. They had a 15.5 game lead in July. They had a double-digit lead in this division the entire year. And suddenly they're legit a 50-50 chance they're not going to make the playoffs. I'd say it's a coin toss right now, guys. Are we going to be seeing October baseball? I sure hope so. But I'd say it's a coin toss whether or not that actually happens this year. Very unfortunate. So here's what I want to ask everyone. Let's just make this very clear. Do you believe Scott Harris should still be employed for this Detroit Tigers team? You can look at the trade deadline. You can look at all those quotes I just read you. I think when you combine those things together and the fact that they're standing on the verge of the greatest collapse in Major League sports, there's a real argument that this guy should no longer be employed for the Tigers. Hey, maybe you think it's Hinch. Maybe you think some of these players are the biggest to blame here and some of these guys got to go. I know this. I feel like Tarik Skubal has one more year in Detroit until he's pitching in a different uniform. So what's got to change? Because if you have a collapse like this, I don't think you can just run it back with the same team. I'm not saying Scott Harris should be fired, but man, there's an argument to be made. 989-837-6